Hey everyone, Straw Hat Puffy here, and wow, we're kicking the year off strong, I guess, with a little tier list, I guess, or a little bit of rankings of the top 21 manga I read in 2021. If you remember, I did this last year with 20 manga and 20 anime. Um, though I will say I don't think I really read too much good stuff this year, sadly. Most of this is like kind of like short fluff stuff that I rushed in to make sure I got 21 for this list. Not sure if I'll do this again next year for 2022. It is a nice number though, so maybe I'll actually try and read some more. But yeah, don't expect too much good stuff on this list to recommend. I mean, it's not like I read like absolute trash, but I definitely read a bunch of good stuff last year compared to this year. So it's not really a good comparison to make. As always, like these tiers are arbitrary. It's just based off my personal enjoyment, my personal opinion. So don't take it into heart until you read it yourself and see what you think. But yeah, I just got 21 manga that I want to show you all that I read, and yeah, I guess we'll go check it out. Okay, starting from the bottom. We'll start with Samurai Champloo. Let's see. Wow. Now I know many of you, not many of, I know like you may have seen the anime Samurai Champloo. It's been a while since I watched it. I don't really know what to think of it. Yeah, I remember liking it though, the anime. But the manga doesn't stack up at all, in my opinion. Or maybe the anime is bad too. I would have to rewatch it. But regardless, the manga, it's really short, only like 8 chapters or something. But it's kind of boring, I want to say. It's episodic, like, or just a new story every chapter. But I think that's how the anime was. But in comparison, the manga lacks the aesthetics of like, you know, the hip-hop, the random hip-hop or like rap songs that the anime had. It's also not very visually appealing. It's just black and white manga, and even then which of course is expected of manga, but the art style is very, I think, lackluster and not very pretty to look at. Which of course, you know, art isn't everything, but definitely degrades it. In addition, I think that the manga kind of focused on the comedy aspects of Samurai Champloo, like having gags, which I think can sort of be easier to capture in a manga, while the anime captures the action. But this manga just kind of didn't do it for me. It wasn't really that funny, and and also, since it was so short, it didn't even cover the entirety of what the anime did. So really, it was just like a collection of just like a few episodes, but didn't really get the better ones in my opinion. So the characters barely got any development. But yeah, if you ever want to get into Samurai Champloo, definitely watch the anime, not read the manga. Next up, another one that I personally didn't like is this one called Doubt. Oh yeah, sorry, like apologies. Sometimes you know, it's been a while. Like I read these for a year, some of them like early in 2021, so I may or may not remember what happened. But I'll try my best to recap. It's partially my fault for not taking notes or really paying attention. But if a manga that really sticks out to me, then I'll definitely remember it more. You know, maybe give it higher worth or something. But yeah, going back to Doubt. It's like a like a locked room murder mystery thing, or kind of. Basically, these kids are locked in this place and they gotta like vote for someone to die. So a bit of like, I don't know, yeah, casting doubt. I don't know, one of them's the imposter or something. I just felt it was kind of lackluster, trying to be not necessarily edgy, but everyone, you know, has issues. No one trusts each other. That kind of stuff has been done before. It's been done before, way better. Even the conclusion, I think, was very uninteresting. Like, I don't remember if I predicted it or not, but it just didn't really capture um, my interest that much. It was really short too, so I guess it's another quick read. If you notice, a lot of the shorter ones will be at the bottom, just because it didn't really take too much to like really do things. Sometimes some short stories are good, but these ones just couldn't. Another one that I honestly can't remember much, I apologize, is Burn the Witch, going at C+. Partially on me. It's made by the person who did Bleach, Tite Kubo or something. And yeah, this is referring to the little one-shot, not the actual series that's releasing, I think, right now. And I think it's like kind of cool because like it's way different than Bleach in the sense that it's focusing on like witches or something, or dragons, rather than, you know, souls and like demons or whatever. Like we can talk about Bleach all day, but I think I did him last year's video. But Burn the Witch is a one-shot, but it was alright, you know, kind of introducing the characters. It's just a pitch, an idea. Can't really remember much, but I guess because it didn't leave that much of an impression on me, I apologize. But yeah. Next is Hideout, little horror one. Another short one, basically. This guy or this couple gets trapped into this cave and kind of forced to live there or something. Oh, actually, that's totally wrong, but just a little creepy. Art style very, very unsettling, which is good, I think. And again, there's another twist. They always gotta have the twist. But yeah, nothing new, I guess. Just another interesting take on this kind of horror. Give it a read if you want. Another bottom one, Guilty Gear Xtra. I got into Guilty Gear last year when Strive came out, of course. I didn't actually play the story mode yet. I hear it's pretty wacky. I'll do that eventually, but I read Xtra as well as the manga post on the website just to kind of learn about the Guilty Gear lore. But it was, or Xtra at least, was alright. I guess it's just expanding upon the lore of the game, but it's not really that cool. It's just kind of confusing, I think, or at least Xtra's take on it. Yeah, I guess I can't really get into it much because I didn't actually play the story mode with the game, but I don't know. It was just kind of cool seeing characters from the game, but as I said before, these are focusing on two individuals that aren't playable in Strive, so I wouldn't know them too well. But I'll wrap it up for C+. Going into B is Giganto Machia, made by Kentaro Miura, who sadly died last year. But Giganto Machia is another like short work he produced, I guess, during his time publishing Berserk. Again, the art style is gorgeous as expected of Miura, but with a kind of one-shot like this, or a short piece, there's not really much going for it. It's interesting because like I think I can see some shared lolly aspects with this one girl, compared to like, you know, like Shirake or the witches and on the Elf Island in Berserk, but it wasn't like anything disturbing. It's just like a observation, I guess. But yeah, I think it was a cool concept, and honestly, I think if Miura expanded upon any of his short works, anything besides Berserk, it would always turn out amazing. It's unfortunate that Berserk had to end the way it did with his passing, with Miura's passing, but it's always cool to check out what other things he did on the side outside of Berserk. But yeah, next up in B, gonna be Dororon Enpi-chan. You don't know, it's a spin-off off of Dororon Enma-kun, which is like a little perverted series I actually watched as a kid, and this like the adaptation of the manga spin-off. or spin-off of the manga adaptation. Whoops, got that wrong. Very very perverted. Lots of toilet humor. It was kind of funny, maybe because like maybe I still find this immature jokes funny, but it was still kind of a weird read. Definitely something you should take with a grain of salt when watching or reading. I mean, though if you do watch the anime, just be warned, it's more or less the same type of content. Okay, next is Deadpool Samurai. That is basically like some little funny manga cause takes on Deadpool. Definitely gets, as you know, with Deadpool goes, lots of fourth wall breaks or going meta, but this time with references to manga, and Shonen Jump specifically, which I thought was kind of funny. I won't spoil, but there are some guest appearances from some certain shonen characters, which I thought was kind of funny. Kind of cool nods or crossovers. I think you would only get this, of course, if you're into manga or shonen. So if you're just a comic book reader, then it may just go over your head. But yeah, I guess it was pretty standard, pretty funny. You can tell it was made around the time of like the Avengers and the movies and all that, because that's like Thanos or whatever. But I mean, that's to be expected. It is funny though how the main characters are kind of anime knockoffs of like real ones. So you have like a anime Spider-Man, anime like Venom, and they're pretty like funny. I think takes like, oh, it's if Japan was writing Marvel comics, they'd probably do this or that. But yeah, nothing too crazy, but wasn't bad. And then we have Devilman, the old classic. Honestly, the art style didn't bother me at all. It was pretty unique, I think. Kind of reminded me of some Western style, but the crudeness, I think, added to its dark story. It's not like... It's actually, you know, it's pretty dark, but it's just... The art style, I think, is just an example of what the era was like at the time. But the story itself was pretty interesting, albeit short. I know like the final fight gets cut off. It just like summarizes, and then at the end it just shows, oh, the result. I didn't watch the anime actually, so can't compare at all, but it was a very freaky read. I think I read the whole thing in a day. Not that it's too difficult of a task, it's also pretty short, but it was still cool. Still got the short ones. We got Sakamoto Desu Ga. This is, I guess, manga about a Chad. You know, doesn't let anything phase him, helps out everyone just by being a Chad. Nothing much else to say. Kind of got a chuckle a bit out of me. But yeah, another one, Ikemen Sugiru Garuda. Basically like, very, like, a two handsome gorilla. Another, like, Chad manga. These two are just right next to each other just because they both, you know, Chads. Pretty funny. Again, these two are both short reads, so you can blitz through these. And then finally, I think that concludes all the short ones. Getting into the better stuff now, kind of. Next we got Gigant, also, which is about 80-something chapters long, I want to say, but yes, so now this starts off the Hiroya Oku phase I kind of had this year. This is his most recent work, and it's not his greatest, but I still liked it. Basically, if you don't know Hiroya Oku, he loves doing narcissistic works, like making fun of humans, bringing like obscure ideas, not obscure ideas, like making fun of, he really likes to make fun of humans, and with it brings like obscure stories and plot lines. This one about a porn actress who has the power to turn giant and fighting kaiju monsters. And it's pretty interesting, pretty funny, just because of the absurdity of it. Like, there's a website that grants people's wishes if enough people vote on it, and then since they make fun of like the internet of like how everyone's like stupid or whatever, the users end up wishing it to like rain shit all over the sky in like Tokyo or something, and lo and behold, the wish comes true. And it's just like really dumb, but I really like it. Like unironically, like the absurdity of Hiroya Oku's works, and Gigant again wasn't the best, but still a pretty funny read. The ending, honestly couldn't find it translated, but decided to read in Japanese. But it wasn't too big of a deal because I won't spoil it, but at the very end, there's not much dialogue, or let alone the dialogue is just the same thing being repeated over and over again, so it wasn't too hard to translate or like to read. But yeah, could have definitely been better. Ooh, and then I know this is like a hot topic, but next is gonna be Attack on Titan, only at B+. And I did watch the anime. Little spoiler alert, I guess. Not spoiler, but heads up, I will be talking about Attack on Titan in my top 21 anime as well. But I'll be going over the manga this time for now, and it's more or less the same as the anime, of course, in terms of plot, of just that it's ahead because it's finished. I know lots of people have gripes with the ending, especially the final chapter, but I honestly didn't mind at all. Like, of course, I didn't like it, but I didn't think it was atrocious. It was kind of obvious that this was the route the manga would be heading once certain events took place, and there is no going back, I think. So really there is no other way to finish it except the way the mangaka did. Even when they revised the final chapter, I still think it was fine. Fine as in, like, it's what they had to do, so it's not much else avoiding it. Like, if they really wanted to change the ending, they'd have to go back like 10, 20 chapters or so, revising it all. But really, it's going back to the main point of Attack on Titan, it's very interesting. I think it kind of builds up its mystery first with the Titans, the walls, everything, and then revealing at the end with like twists. Again, like, the action is more heavily captured in the anime, of course. Like, the people making the Attack on Titan anime are just like really awesome animators, and even I think Mappa does a pretty decent job taking on the final season. And I pray that if it's Mappa is doing the final arc of AOT, they're gonna have a rough time, and it's probably gonna look really ugly. I guess we'll see, because final season part 2 is coming up, or at least starting soon. But yeah, the art style in the manga, definitely not the greatest. A lot of backgrounds are pretty blank or gradient, and it's a very distinct difference from the anime. So if you're too used to the gorgeousness of AOT's animation, you're probably gonna have a harder time reading the manga. But more or less, it's, you know, the same story, just conveyed differently. So if you like it, I guess you'll like it. Now, surprisingly, these two get their own tier. It just happened that way, I don't know. And these aren't actually manga, but as I said before, I was kind of reaching to get 21, so I had to include what I can. And this is going to be a webtoon. I think that's what it's called. I don't know. It's a Korean thing. It's called Bastard in English. This is my first time reading a Korean comic, and I guess it's not actually a manga, but it was still an interesting experience reading it from top to bottom. I felt like I could blitz through it really quickly because you just have to scroll instead of, you know, flipping page or, you know, tapping a button to go to the next one. But regardless, I only read it from this one author. You'll see there's another one coming up soon. And sadly I don't remember too much, but I do remember it being very exciting. Basically about a boy trying to take down his father, who's... Actually, I don't remember what's not a spoiler, but you'll have to read it for yourself. I do felt like it dragged on a bit at the end. I think it could have been wrapped up, and plus there's some, you know, like a lot of coincidental things that may or may not stop the protagonist, if you know what I mean. I don't know, you'll have to read for yourself, but I just wanted this thing that's like, oh dang, they got really lucky that time and they got really unlucky, etc. But I still found it an enjoyable read. Definitely cool how a young boy can try to take down his father, who's like a really rich dude. I don't know, it's not a very good way to explain it, but this was recommended to me by a friend, so if you're ever interested in a webtoon or some Korean comics, try Bastard out first. And this one, objectively, I think is worse. Worse sounds negative, but less good than Bastard, but I kind of liked it more. Sweet Home. Basically, these bunch of people are kind of trapped into an apartment because it's like a zombie apocalypse, but the zombies are a lot more powerful than you think. So things get really hectic. It was cool seeing a bunch of different personalities, you know, interact with each other, trying to fight off these hordes, as compared to Bastard, where there's like 2 MCs, you know, and then one main villain. This one, the villain was just life, the world, you know, trying to escape. And I think what made Sweet Home interesting was because of the action, like the tense aura, I don't know, like the intensity of everything, you know, trying to survive. But it was pretty nice reading. I think I definitely binged it way more than I did Bastard, just because I just had to see what was going on next. It's pretty crazy how like they had to do what they could with items in the apartment, you know, trying to survive off of the little food and water they had. I think it can be a bit compared to I Am a Hero, which I reviewed last year, but again, check it out if you can. And now going on to A+, getting to ultra good stuff, Inuyashiki, another one of Hideout Oku's works, about an old man who accidentally gets killed by aliens, or aliens accidentally kill him, and then they revive him and give him a cyborg body, and he uses that body for good. But another boy was also killed and was given a cyborg body, but he's using it for evil. Just 2 different sides of what people with power can do, and I thought it was a pretty good read. I kind of teared up a bit at the end, just because I think having an old man for an MC is a unique concept, or something that's not very explored enough. And honestly, I guess it I don't know, makes it put into his perspective, because like, you know, this old man is like kind of feeble, kind of just living the rest of his days out in solitude. Not necessarily solitude, but nothing exciting is going on until he gets these powers, and then when he can finally make a difference in the world despite his like aging body, it's pretty great. He's finally able to, you know, do some of the things he's always been meaning to, that he couldn't before. But yeah, again, read it. I would definitely recommend anything from, I mean, I would recommend all of these, but I would heavily recommend anything from, I guess, A or above, but don't get it twisted. You can read anything from B and B+ as well. I would not recommend C+ and lower unless, like, I don't know, you want to see it, or you're big, you have a big interest in some of these concepts down below. But yeah, the next up, A+, is Franken Fran, recommended by a friend. And this one was pretty creepy at first, basically about this monster, like Frankenstein doctor named Fran. You know, she tries to help people with good intentions, but the way she helps them with her surgeries are often led astray because she misinterprets people's emotions or what they're saying, their words. And I kind of liked it a lot at the beginning because it was very dark in a way, very gruesome. The art style was, I think, very interesting. very unsettling at times with all the body horror. But then later at the end, it kind of becomes like a slice of life comedy, still with like some dark elements, but they weren't as gruesome as before, and I still found it enjoyable, but it prevents me from putting up an S just because it's lost its touch of being kind of like humorously dark. But it was still a pretty fun read. Definitely made use of its characters, at least the main ones. If you kind of want to get some chills on your spine, read some of the first few chapters, see what you think, and then try to read the rest. As I said before, it gets more lighthearted as you read on, so you don't have to worry about that. Then next is Billy Bat. I just noticed that there's quite a bit of red on all these covers. I don't know why that is, but it kind of fits. Oh yeah, Billy Bat, made by Urasawa. I talked about a lot of his works last year, which I really loved. Billy Bat's no exception. Another really good one. Kind of a funny take on Mickey Mouse, but becomes way more so, letting this cartoon comic character, I guess, define or deciding the fate of everyone, or causing all these disasters, and then they just gotta like figure out the mystery. That's a very crude way of putting it. It's pretty long, but honestly, I didn't think it dragged at all. I mean, it definitely dragged at some parts, but I still found it interesting. Trying to figure out the mystery of Billy Bat. And then, in addition, I kind of like the ending. It was very short and sweet. Very kind of like meta, I think, the concept of Billy Bat. But yeah, if you like Naoki Urasawa, definitely read this. I don't know if it's a good starter one. I think it's a good like one you read second or third. I think if you really want to get into Urasawa, you gotta read like Pluto first, or maybe Monster. But Billy Bat was pretty good. Yeah. Now going into S. Ooh, the ultra good ones, my absolute favorites. Can kind of see what they are already, but let's hear my thoughts. Opus, written and drawn by Satoshi Kon. If you don't know, he did all the movies like Tokyo Godfathers, Paprika, Millennium Actress, forgetting a few. But they're all really good, and he wrote a manga, like a very meta one about a mangaka getting sucked into his world, and then his characters kind of realizing that they are manga characters, and then getting revenge, kind of, or not wanting to succumb to the fate that the mangaka wrote for them. They want to be free, but the manga writer is the one who decides what happens to them. So gets pretty meta. The art, I think, is actually pretty good. Things get pretty whack later. This one's also pretty short. I think it's like 20 chapters, but it's still a really good read. And I really liked how meta breaking it is. Yeah, I guess I could go on, but stop right there. Next one. I had a lot of trouble deciding between these two, which one I liked a lot more, but in the end I had to put Gantz second in quotes, because there's no actual ranking. They're all S. They're all really good. They're all in my top. These two are both in my top 10. Opus top 15, top 20, I think. I'll have to check. Same with Billy Bat as well, and Inuyashiki. But Gantz, oh man, where do I start? This one, ooh, this one was absolutely crazy. One of the craziest mangas I read. I think when you hear the name Hiroya Oku, you think of Gantz first. Gantz, whatever. I'll call it Gantz. This one is just, wow, it's a trip. It is like maybe 300 something, 350 chapters, like probably more, I forget, or less. It's really long, but just so much happens. Like there's a lot of action going on, and the premise is basically these people are people died, but they're brought back to life and are forced to kind of like fight aliens to live. And it's amazing to see what all these personalities can do fighting aliens, you know, teaming up together. Like, they pose a lot of the main characters first as like jerks, you know, none of them are really worthwhile humans worth saving, you know, except for, you know, a few, but really puts in the perspective like, who do you want to root for? Do you want to root for the aliens, or do you want to root for the jerk humans? And it's really interesting at first, you know, putting on this narcissistic mood or tone, I guess. But later the main character, Kei Kurono, kind of grows up a bit and becomes a better human. You know, he tries harder to save people no matter what, trying to kill the aliens. You know, he starts to love people for really who they are instead of just their body. Something's holding it back is at the beginning, kind of, not necessarily a drag, but it really makes you not like the MC. It's understandable. And the early middle, or everything in the middle, I think is really good though. It's definitely the highlight of Gantz. There's a lot of really good fights, a lot of good like character development, a lot of soul-crushing deaths. Yeah, Oku holds no punches. He really loves killing people off in this series. And the ending though, I kind of liked it, but as it goes with most, I guess, manga endings, it can be tough to you know, make a final villain and then make them very challenging for the main character, even though he's like kind of OP. But these aliens are just even more overpowered, and things get absolutely crazy again, like even more so than I thought already. Definitely forgot to mention this, but Hiroya Oku is an amazing artist. Like, the drawing, the cities and the machinery he draws is really gorgeous to look at, and definitely could save a lot of his panels as like wallpapers or whatnot. It's a long read, but it's worth it for the art style and everything. Oh yeah, you can also tell that Hiroya Oku is very kind of perverted, as you can, if you couldn't tell already, from Gigant. Inuyashiki does this less so, but Gantz takes it to the to the top. I think like lots of the chapters start with, you know, some random like pinup girl, kind of funny. If you like look past the fan service, you just think of it as like a weird joke or something that he wanted to draw. And also like the female characters definitely have unrealistic proportions, but I think it becomes less so about the fan service later on as Kei Kurono grows up and learns to appreciate you know, all body types, which is, you know, kind of weird or unfortunate. You know, he wasn't like that to begin with, but yeah, I really like this a lot. It's definitely not the best thing out there, but my preferences definitely shift towards these types of stories where a bunch of different people gather together to take on one common enemy. These despicable characters. Yeah, it's a trip. I recommend it to my brother. He read it very quickly in like 2 days or so, and I was amazed because it's so long, but he just got really into it. But if you can, definitely check it out and let me know what you think. And the final one, my all-time favorite reading this year, is Genshiken. Now, I had a lot of trouble deciding between Genshiken and Gantz. I think Gantz really left an impression on me because of its craziness, absurdity, but Genshiken I think was a lot more wholesome, and a lot more relatable. I think it's about a college anime. Well, it's not an anime club; it's just an otaku club. And it has a lot of like enjoyable personalities. And it takes place in a, you know, older era. I think maybe in the late 90s or something. And I think it's interesting to see what otaku culture was like back then. You know, internet wasn't the biggest thing. they had to like watch television live or record it. They had to go out and buy like manga or doujinshi. Can't like order online. And honestly, the era seemed like very nice, very hands-on, very outgoing. Definitely sounds like a boomer thing, but I like the environment back then. I think we have it pretty easy these days. A lot of things are accessible with the click of a button, but back then, invites people to go out more. And regardless of this environment or this tone that Genshiken brings, again, going back to the characters, there's a lot of different otaku in this club, and even one of them's not an otaku's girlfriend of one, and even then she starts to appreciate the nerds for who they are, and they end up they kind of are like one big family full of funny people. And it's interesting to see them grow up, from college freshmen all the way to after college. They work in jobs now, don't necessarily have time to indulge in all their otaku stuff. They definitely don't pull their punches with what they do as otakus. Definitely gets kind of funny, but they're kind of blatant, and some are like more proud to be an otaku than others. And this all applies to, I think, the first half of Genshiken. Second half takes a whole nother tone differently, where one of the main characters ends up developing his own harem with some of the girls, and I say that and some of the girls being like the next generation of club members in the Genshiken, and things get pretty interesting. It's not the most it's not the worst harem. It's definitely, I think, one of the best harems I read about in a manga, but it definitely was different than what the series was originally about. It was still really funny, but the harem definitely dragged on a bit more than it should have been, and even then the outcome, I think, made the most sense, but I still don't understand why some of the girls liked him in the first place, as it always is. And it really became something different. Maybe it was because of the sign of the times, otaku culture changing, shifted from a male predominant cast to a female one, specifically for joshis, or girls who are into BL, boys love. But I really liked it. The art style was also very cute, very moe. I think they did a really good job of drawing both male and female characters. Like, nothing was like too crazy or unproportionate. Lots of different body sizes, which I could appreciate. And the art style definitely improved as it went on. Even then, I really liked it in the beginning. I really liked the kind of not crookedness, but like kind of straight lines with like Madarame's head or something. Like, kind of made him look, like skinny, like like a little goblin or whatever, but kind of acted one in the beginning. Madarame the boy. Yeah, and I think this manga kind of changed my outlook on anime clubs in general. Definitely, like, even though they don't really do much, I think they still accomplish a lot, surprisingly, just for being otaku at first. All because this one girl kind of forces them, to do more of their lives. I think was really interesting. But yeah, it beats out Gantz just because of its relatability and kind of funny, and maybe because of recency bias. I read it just in this November, December or something, and I also watched the anime. While with Gantz, I read that I think I read it in spring in 2021, and then watched the anime, which is kind of atrocious. So maybe that lowered my opinion of Gantz, but I really love Genshiken and Gantz for sure. And I really love, I don't know. I was about to say really love all these entries, but clearly I do not. I think that'll conclude it for my top 21 manga I read in 2021. Again, my thoughts are kind of scatterbrained, just all over the place, just pulling from what I can remember. But I still think this year last year, 2021, was a pretty good year of reading. As you may have noticed, none of these actually came out in 2021 except the ending of Attack on Titan, which I apologize for. I don't really keep up with modern day stuff. And plus I like reading manga when they're finished, so I don't have to wait for the next chapter. But yeah, that'll about do it for what I read. If you have read most of these, that's great. Tell me what you think about them. If you haven't, check them out. And yeah, I guess I'll see you guys another time. Peace.